What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to break down the UFC 307 card, kind of talk about what happened on there. Alex Pereira is still him. He beat Khalil Rountree Jr. in an incredible fight. It was actually super fun to watch last night, and I was truly super excited to see how Alex Pereira was dodging the stuff out there and being able to go to the rip to the body and then go up to the head and throw those head kicks. He was piecing up Khalil Rountree Jr., but Khalil did so much better than everyone thought. Also, in the co-main event, Juliana Pena got the decision win over Raquel Pennington in a very, very, very close decision win, and I'll kind of talk about who I think won that fight. And then also in the featured bout, Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. Mario Bautista got the win, but it was also a very controversial decision. In that one, Kevin Holland broke a rib or had some rib tear or some number like that in that fight, so he wasn't able to continue versus Roman Dolidze. And in the first fight on the main card, Kayla Harrison kind of had an underwhelming performance, and we'll go into that too. There's so many other good fights on this card. We'll kind of break all those down, and we'll jump right into the video right now. But prior to that, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. This is the best way to help the channel grow. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications, just so you guys are always notified about the UFC content incoming. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video about talking about UFC 307. First of all, I want to talk about the Khalil Rountree Jr. and Alex Pereira main event in one of the best fights of the year so far, in my opinion. That was a striker's delight. In this one, we had Khalil Rountree Jr. swinging and Alex Pereira throwing back. Khalil was doing really good in those first two rounds. He was really putting it on Pereira. I did think Pereira got the first round. That one was super duper close. The second round was definitely Rountree Jr.'s. The third round was definitely Pereira's. And the fourth round, Alex Pereira was ending up getting the knockout in that one, which was an incredible knockout. He was piecing up Rountree in that third and fourth round. He kind of realized that he was getting tired a little bit, and so he started ripping to the body. He came upstairs. He was doing everything that he truly needed to do to ultimately win this fight, and it was a very impressive performance from Alex Pereira. You know, Pereira is one of those fighters that he's, in my opinion, the best kickboxer the UFC has ever seen. He's got some of the hardest strikes, and I know Joe Rogan talked about it in the post-fight that Mark Goddard, the referee, came over to him and says that he has never heard anything like Alex Pereira striking and hitting someone, because this man hits so hard, and is an absolute just crazy thing to see, because every single shot that Khalil Rountree Jr. was getting hit with, I thought he was going to go down considering of how hard Pereira strikes. But Rountree is an absolute warrior. That the pictures of his face after the fight were absolutely crazy. He was cut up everywhere. He was bleeding in this post-fight. His nose started bleeding in front of Joe Rogan. It was a crazy main event last night. Like I said, Alex Pereira did very well. He was able to, kind of switch up the body strikes. He was getting caught a little bit with that left high kick when he would go up. Khalil Rountree Jr. was able to go in there and counter. But once Alex Pereira was kind of hiding that high kick a little bit better and not doing it as much, he was able to kind of disguise it a lot better than someone like, or when he was throwing it up there and Khalil Rountree Jr. was able to counter. But ultimately, I did think Khalil Rountree Jr. now is one of the best UFC light heavyweights. I mean, he proved it. He proved it last night, considering that he was able to go in there and truly beat someone or compete with someone like Alex Pereira, and then go in there and yes, he showed his heart on display and whatnot, getting knocked out. But Alex Pereira isn't even a thing. But he didn't even go to sleep. It was just his body couldn't take any more damage anymore, and that is something that is completely respectable, considering that Alex Pereira hits like an absolute truck. Ultimately, Alex Pereira is one of my favorite fighters inside the organization. He is an absolute legend out there, and truly, Pereira is here to stay inside that UFC light heavyweight division. In the co-main event, we got Juliana Pena winning the title over Raquel Pennington, and I did think Raquel Pennington won that fight. I know I saw the fifth round and I saw the fourth round. I didn't see the first round. That was the round that apparently was really needed to be decided upon this fight. I know Juliana won rounds 2 and 3. Pennington got the knockdown in round 4 and won round 5, but apparently the first round was really close to Raquel Pennington, but the judges were kind of all over the place in this fight card. So truly, I did think that Raquel Pennington did get enough done in this fight to ultimately go in there and win it at UFC 307, and I did think she should retain the title. Now, in Juliana Pena's post-fight interview, she called for Amanda Nunes again, which, yes, I understand. They're 1-1 versus one another, and that was one of the biggest wins in UFC history for Pena, and she knows she can beat Nunes. But I do think the next fight for Juliana is the Kayla Harrison fight, because I do think if Kayla wins that fight and you put her against Amanda Nunes, would be one of the greatest bouts in UFC bantamweight history. And if Juliana Pena beats someone like Kayla Harrison, that only makes that bout so much bigger. So I do think that would be the next optimal step to go, and I do think that would be the best fight to ultimately be had. But good fight. I mean, there was some knockdowns, there was some good striking. It wasn't like the greatest fight in the world, but it was definitely better than advertised at UFC 307. Now, for the featured bout on the card, we have Jose Aldo Jr. going up against Mario Bautista, and Mario Bautista ended up getting the decision win, and I did think Jose Aldo did win that fight. Now, it was incredibly close, and the big thing that I've kind of talked about is that, you got to look at what takedowns do, and that's the biggest thing, because takedowns that don't go anywhere is kind of wasting time, and I think Jose Aldo Jr. was getting more done on the feet, where Mario Bautista was getting, kind of some stuff done in the dirty clinching area, in the close boxing and dirty boxing area, but I do think that Jose Aldo Jr. won that fight. He stopped all the takedowns coming from Mario Bautista. He looked really good out there, and it was a very close fight. Mario Bautista looked really good as well, but ultimately, I do think that Jose Aldo Jr. won this fight in a very close decision, which I do think was the ultimate best outcome of this fight. But Mario Bautista did look good. I think he should push up into a top, 10 to 5 fighter next, just considering that he didn't ultimately go out there and smoke Aldo, which I didn't think was going to happen, but I did think that Aldo won this fight, like I said. So I think that Aldo should also get pushed up. I think this was a great featured bout, considering that Aldo is one of the most beloved fighters in the UFC, kind of from his accolades and his age. And also, Mario Bautista is going out there and doing what he can, considering that he is an absolute, he's an upcoming prospect in the sport. And I truly do think that Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista was a great fight on the card. And I kind of want to group these two fights together. Kevin Holland versus Roman Dolidze was an okay fight in the first part, but Kevin Holland moved weird when Roman Dolidze was on top of him, and it looked like something happened to his rib. He was kind of holding it after the fight. Could be some torn rib cartilage, could be a broken rib, something like that, which is incredibly painful. And I'm so thankful that Kevin Holland's coach just said, Kevin, we're going to protect you from yourself. You're too hard for this. But Roman Dolidze ended up getting the win. Whether it was fair or square, it ultimately was an injury. I would love to see this fight get run back, but Roman Dolidze did get the win ultimately. And Caitlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison to open up the main card. Yes, it was a fight. It wasn't that exciting. Kayla Harrison did get the win, but it wasn't her most dominant performance inside the UFC by far. Her Holly Holm win was incredible, considering that she was able to go in there and choke her out pretty quickly. But, Caitlin Vieira is a good fighter. I think Kayla Harrison is next for the title. I think that kind of name behind her is so big. And yes, she is an absolute freak in that women's bantamweight division, but I don't know if she's going to be able to win the title. I'm going to pick Kayla Harrison to beat anyone inside that bantamweight division. But this performance tonight was very lackluster from someone like Kayla Harrison, but I do think that she's still better than every single bantamweight currently in the division. And the last fight I kind of want to talk about here is the fight that I was saying that you should really look out for, and that was Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. And Joaquin Buckley, first off, I kind of want to start with, this fight was all over the place. There was so many, the judges had no idea how to score this fight, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't either. I kind of thought that Joaquin Buckley won round one. Round two, I was kind of not watching that much, but I did see the knockout coming from Joaquin Buckley in that overhand right, which was an incredible knockout, considering that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is so elusive and he really never gets knocked out, but that overhand right was able to land perfectly flush right on the chin of Wonderboy and ultimately knock him out cold. I think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is kind of on the hump of his career. I don't really know if he should keep continuing fighter, considering that he's that old, but Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is always an amazing person to have around the sport. I truly enjoy watching him fight, considering that he is one of the most exciting fighters, but Joaquin Buckley had one of the best performances of his life, considering that he got the knockout over someone who really has never been knocked out before, except against Anthony Pettis. But I do think that Joaquin Buckley had a great game plan going in to wrestle with someone like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, considering that he is such a good striker. But Joaquin Buckley, like I said, that overhand right, that kind of stutter step, right to the chin, face down in the octagon for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, kind of followed up with some punches right after. Thank God the judge was right there to stop it, but this was a great fight for Joaquin Buckley, and I do think that he should get someone like a top 5 opponent, or someone ranked like Gilbert Burns, who's kind of on the decline. I do think that would be a great fight. Joaquin Buckley versus Gilbert Burns would kind of be my next one to make. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section about UFC 307. I did think it was a pretty good card overall. The main card was it was pretty good, considering the Mario Bautista fight and the main event. Those two fights were really, really good. Other than that, the co-main event was decent. The Kevin Holland fight was underwhelming, considering that he got hurt, and the opener to the card, Kayla Harrison versus Caitlin Vieira, just wasn't a great fight in total. Joaquin Buckley's performance was amazing, and there were some other good fights on the card, like Ryan Spann getting the finish. There were some other things that we could talk about, but it wasn't that big to where I wanted to bring it up to the face. But ultimately, UFC 307, in my opinion, was a success. Having Alex Pereira main event of pay-per-view is always one of the biggest things the UFC could have, considering that he is probably the biggest star in the organization right now. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the UFC content. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications, just so you guys are always notified about the UFC content coming soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.